Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's the leader of the Cosmic Armada, Wolf Nara, about to bring you another Boruto discussion-based video. Today we're going to be talking about Mitsuki and Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, but not only Mitsuki, but how his two sons influenced his moon and how you can see the difference in his character as well. And we're going to use that information to see where he could possibly go in the story. So if you guys enjoy the Boruto content on the channel, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Do the YouTube thingy. Get this video to 150 likes, and I can talk about other characters in the Boruto cast as well, because there are tons of people to talk about. But anyway, let's get started with the video. I hope you guys enjoy, and I'm out. So now with Mitsuki, initially Mitsuki was created by Orochimaru as a clone in of itself. Mitsuki is not the original clone. He has an older brother as well who's also able to provide Mitsuki with different organs. Okay, Orochimaru may be nicer now, but he's still as sadistic as ever. So now with Mitsuki, Orochimaru wanted to actually give him someone he can latch on to, someone he can grow from, a quote unquote son. And if you take a look back into the original Naruto, you actually understand that the sun and the moon reference has always been at play. Whenever they show Naruto as a child around the sun, they show Sasuke as a kid around the moon. In which even when Sasuke beats Naruto in the final valley, when he goes into his descent of darkness, it's when there's a quote unquote moon or environment reminiscent of being around a moon, in which we see him dive himself into that darkness. And so now we have Mitsuki. Mitsuki was a moon without a sun, so he was unable to refract that light from that person in order to become a better person. And Orochimaru used Naruto and Sasuke relationship as the basis for how he wanted to develop or cultivate, well, technically develop Mitsuki. So now, with that being said, Orochimaru orchestrated this thing where Mitsuki would either pick two options. Either he would go with him and stop the imposter, or he would go with the imposter and stop his father, in which those would be the ideal situations for a ninja. But one thing we do learn throughout Naruto is that a ninja must perceive through deception, or see through deception, per Kakashi, in which there was also a hidden third option, which was to be side with no one and go your own way to show that you would also have that growth. And so Mitsuki, this is not really talked about a lot, but Mitsuki went under with that experiment multiple times before he was able to actually grow by himself to the point where he can make his own decision. And so now we're gonna also talk about the anime with Mitsuki as well. So there is a certain part in the Boruto anime. I can't think of exactly what the arc is called, but Mitsuki essentially leaves the village and goes to the Land of Stone, and we get a lot about the morals of the Land of Stone, in which Mitsuki, we believe that he left the village and he went with people who are more like him, more synthetic created humans, not naturally created humans, in which Mitsuki was posing the questions: how do you feel about this? How do you not have emotions? What do you think about this? Kind of picking their brain. Also reminiscing that Mitsuki was created differently than those clones, and the experiments or social experiments in the ninja world sense was that was posed on Mitsuki was also different from them, in which they was created to be soldiers, while Mitsuki was created to be as closely as a son to Orochimaru as possible, to be able to develop into a person even Orochimaru himself couldn't have foreseen, who could actually better society in of itself. Or honestly, to keep it in layman's term, Mitsuki is all of the better parts of Orochimaru as well. So now when you look at Orochimaru and how he was so held up on being immortal because he wanted to be able to not only master the jutsus but use the jutsus as well. The fear of death really overtook him, in which after looking at how Naruto was inheriting wills, he felt that he should have inherited his will to someone else, because essentially he was never trying to give Sasuke his will. He was essentially just trying to take over Sasuke so he could continue to live. So now that goes to show, with all the bad stuff Orochimaru did, nobody would trust Orochimaru to that degree, in which he would inherit his will to essentially himself, just with a different consciousness, his son Mitsuki. But for him to see that light or have that sun, he also used Naruto. So what more of a perfect person to use for Boruto? Although we did get sidetracked a little bit, but you have to, you know what I'm saying, go a little to the nuances of the characters just so you can understand what's going on. So now when Mitsuki understand that he was created differently and for a different reason than the rest of these clones in Stone Village, he essentially leaves, in which we transfer over to Boruto, which is really important. Up until that point, Boruto and Mitsuki relationship was always one-sided. It was always what Boruto wanted to do. Boruto never really asked what Mitsuki think of things, never really asked how Mitsuki could actually what he would like to do or anything of that nature. It was always what Boruto would like to do. Mitsuki also never showed that he had any problem with actually going about doing things his own way, because he's also learning from Boruto. It's kind of it's messed up to say because they have a really close friendship, but it's also kind of like a parasitic relationship from Mitsuki in which he kind of latches onto the person, and that person, the way he views the world is also the way Mitsuki could view the world, in which we're going to also talk about the contrast between the two sons. And so now, as Boruto actually comes to this realization that he's actually been selfish towards his friends as well, he begins to ask Mitsuki more questions about the things that he liked to do, or if he wanted to go this way or that way, or what his opinion would be. At least that way, cultivating that friendship a lot more. Basically showing that Boruto's sun grows, shines a lot brighter for Mitsuki, in which it allowed Mitsuki to grow into this more positive person, someone who's always bent up on doing what is best for everyone, in which even when he left the village, he never left the village to betray the village. He left the village in order to stop these synthetic humans from causing harm or creating war in a peaceful land. So it was always a peaceful mission for Mitsuki, but he was also able to understand more about being a synthetic human himself, and also learn to understand the emotions or try to understand other people as well. Those are the things we get from that arc, which was always fire. So up until that point, Mitsuki was always just basically a yes man, in which from that point on, it's rare that Mitsuki would disagree with Boruto, but even when we see the new Team 7 captain get elected, Boruto was saying they was like, are you offering up Sarada? Offering up yourself? And Mitsuki stated that Sarada would be a way better leader than Boruto. He actually agreed with Kawaki in that sense, in which it goes to show that even though Boruto may be his son, if there's a better course of action, it goes that he has his own mind as well. Just because Boruto's in danger, you feel me, it doesn't mean he's only going to put his body on the line for Boruto. He's going to also put his body on the line for Sarada as well. You know, he has Sage Mode, and with the Sage Mode, when he activates it, because he has a similar body to Orochimaru, it pretty much destroys his organs as he keeps it up longer. And so when they fought one of the Kara members, his name was Deeper. He was an anime-only character. This is where Boruto learned the Rasengan, the compressed Rasengan. So Mitsuki, the first fight, he pretty much leaves. Not necessarily leaves, but he grabs them so that way they can escape. And he hits Sage Mode all the way till he gets back to the Land of Fire. So at least that way they're able to survive that encounter, and thus putting his body on the line for his friends. And it goes to show you that he's seen Boruto done this up to this point countless of times, and it goes to show that that moon to sun aspect is really important, and it shows that you are who your friends are. So when you have this parasitic relationship, I should say, or I should say for lack of a better term, when you have a friendship with anyone, it shouldn't be just a give and a give and not a give take kind of relationship. You guys should always be as open with each other as always, just like with this relationship as well. At first, it was a one-sided relationship, in which then they eventually get closer to it to be more of a mutual understanding between one another. And that's really all you can ask for. So after they beat deeper, and Mitsuki had to get his older brother to transfer his organs. You remember I said we gonna go back to that. He had to get his brothers to transport or transplant his organs into him because all of his organs was failing and Orochimaru wasn't able to bring back from him using that prolonged sage mode. So essentially, Mitsuki not only sacrificed himself for Boruto, which is his son, but also Sarada as well for his friends in general. And it goes to show that Mitsuki is growing at a rate that even Orochimaru probably didn't predict. And so at that point, we have the aspect with Ida where she flips everything on his head, in which, because Mitsuki doesn't really have too many scenes in there. We see that he shows a ton of distrust for Kawaki, but eventually Kawaki does gain his trust through being around Boruto and being around each other. In which then when Ida does the thing where she flips everything on his head, everybody's life does it 180. Boruto's life is replaced with Kawaki life, and Kawaki life is replaced with Boruto's life. It goes and then Kawaki seals Naruto and Hinata, and pronounces them as quote unquote dead. It goes to show you the depth that Mitsuki is really trying to go, because at that point, since Boruto is in the position of life where Kawaki is supposed to be, Mitsuki reveals Boruto as this threat, in which this threat needs to be neutralized as quickly as possible. He posed a threat to the village because he took out the Hokage, he took out the Hokage wife as well, and then he tried to kill the other, because it showed during that time, right before the time skip, that Boruto gets slashed in the eye protecting Sarada. So in the report, it goes to show that that he has an injury on his eye, which Mitsuki tries to pretty much unalive Boruto, in which Mitsuki takes a darker turn when someone tries to destroy his son or unalive his son. You feel me? And so now we see a darker side of Mitsuki. This is where the more sadistic nature of Orochimaru come into play, because there is no room for error. It was almost as if Mitsuki has the same instincts as Orochimaru, because obviously he's a clone, but through his own experience, he's gained the same instincts. Just like how Orochimaru taught Sasuke to kind of like kill, well, unalive first, and then think about everything second. In that moment, Mitsuki took that approach, and we see with Sasuke personally, his whole thing was not killing people unnecessarily or not unaliving people unnecessarily. There's no point in me making that distinction if I'm just gonna keep messing it up anyway. But to not unalive people specifically. So now within the 5-year time skip, I think it's 5 years. Within the 5-year time skip, with Kawaki being Mitsuki's son, we see that Mitsuki is taking this more solemn look onto life, where it's just all about killing Boruto because he tried to unalive Kawaki, in which Kawaki also doesn't understand Mitsuki. So now the relationship is viewed more parasitic, while Boruto and Mitsuki relationship was more mutual after a certain amount of time. So Kawaki often shuts down Mitsuki, which makes Mitsuki feel like he's being unheard, in which then he has to constantly second guess himself. And so one thing about Mitsuki, you remember the social experiment, which means he had to get his memory erased every single time so that way he can have the best outcome possible. And so Mitsuki's actually dealt with his memories being wiped before. So when the clues are not adding up, in which Kawaki is telling him to stop being around them, it's kind of creeping him out. Kawaki doesn't like this camaraderie because of the darkness that he was groomed from, in which Mitsuki questions as if, what are you really my son, Kawaki? Are you really the guy who I'm supposed to dedicate not necessarily my life to, but who I want to have as an example to be the best person that I could possibly be, in which he still has this solemn look on his face. We haven't seen Mitsuki since Kawaki flown off, so let's talk about it. With the Shinju situation, if you guys want me to make a video on the Shinju, just let me know down below. If you guys got to this point in the video, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for hearing me talk about Boruto, you know what I'm saying? But hey, be like that sometimes. But now, with the Shinju and the different gods of the Shinju pieces coming into play, I do see Mitsuki actually be one of the main hitters. And the reason I say Mitsuki is going to be one of the main hitters is because they're made of nature energy, and when we think about the past with Naruto versus Obito, only nature energy can really hurt the Ten Tails. So now either we're gonna have Mitsuki just fighting these monsters. We have to see how Mitsuki trained in this situation, because in my opinion, I definitely believe that Mitsuki went back to Orochimaru in order to actually train, because we know whenever Mitsuki needs to talk, he goes to his parent. That's one thing I do love about Orochimaru. For his son, he's definitely always there whenever Mitsuki needs him. And it's a I'm not gonna say he made a great 180, but Orochimaru definitely did like a 140. You feel him, about 120, and now he's being this more supportive parent. And I just love to see that. And so I'm pretty sure if Mitsuki asks his Orochimaru to train him, he would train him without a shadow of a doubt. And so now it leads you to think about what Mitsuki can have, because a Sage Mode only enhances what you currently have. So we know Mitsuki have like Great Wind Breach, and he has Snake Lightning. I'm just using like his most basic of basic jutsus. And so now we're gonna see a ton of more wind style and a ton of more lightning style. I just use those jutsus to show that he has lightning style and wind style. So now I just can't wait to see Mitsuki. I think that eventually Kawaki's gonna say something that gives Mitsuki the hint that he needs, or Kakashi may come into play, because a ninja must see through deception, and this is the ultimate deception. All the evidence lines up for everything to be switched. They know they're dealing with God. They don't know the extent of how far these gods can go. So Kakashi may be the one to actually understand that Boruto is helping to leave, and then you have Mitsuki may have this situation with Kakashi, or have to speak with Kakashi, or Kakashi tips off the village, just like how we had back in Naruto, where they had to actually figure out the message Jiraiya left to understand that pain was just more than one person. The real one isn't here. So I would love to get that aspect where it's like the person life, you impersonating that very son, and now he's gone down this real solemn dark path. And now you can tell that Mitsuki really doesn't feel right within himself. And so now I can see that Mitsuki just lashes out and tries to kill Kawaki, in which Boruto stops him and makes him understand, like just like before, that there's things bigger than him right now, that he has to put his emotions to the side, because everything from that could be fixed, and it's perfectly fine, and he's perfectly fine. And to see Mitsuki begin to start making his own decisions and become more of his own character, or to see the result of the dynamics of what had happened with Mitsuki if his son switched between Kawaki, or Boruto and Kawaki, and how that affects his decision making and the way he views the world and of himself, and how he grows as a synthetic human. I don't see him getting like any extra like dojutsus or anything like that, but I definitely see him having like large scale attacks because of the Sage Mode. And if he was able to somehow master the Sage Mode, because we know Orochimaru was sent to the Sage Cage, if he was able to produce a stronger body for Mitsuki through surgery and transplants, because technically he's still a synthetic human and has to go through that constantly, then at that point he will probably be a lot stronger, and then have a lot deeper connection, in which he has more of a connection to Earth, because you know with the Snake Sage, he's supposed to be able to manipulate the environment in of itself. But I also have a Boruto video coming out talking about Boruto being a planetary based sage through the combination of sage, or of senjutsu of snake and toad. But anyway, if you guys want that video sooner, I can work on it sooner. Get this video to, again, 150 likes. I could produce another video. Hey, man, I am ashy. Hey, man, that's all I got for this video, man. I'm going to need some lotion after this one. But be your boy, Wolf Nara, man. I'm out.